you would agree that this is calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. This is after the
No, Senator.
No, it's not. This isn't calling for the killing of Jews.
I don't know that person, and I don't know that sign. So
You don't know what this
for.
means?
I don't think.
You haven't seen this before? Did you see these protests on Rabbi, do you know what this means?
Yes, it's a call for the destruction of the state of Israel and probably the killing of Jews everywhere.
I do not agree with that, Senator.
You don't think that's hate speech right here? Ms. Berry, let me just start with you. You said in response to a question from, I think it was Senator Graham, you praised the protests going on campuses. I just want to make sure I got this right, so you correct me now, as a national organic human rights movement. What did you mean by that?
The mass movement in support of Palestinian human rights is happening on college campuses across the country after students are learning more about the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and the specific targeting of Palestinian human rights. Yes.
Oh, okay. I just want to be clear about what you're praising and not praising.
Well, praising.
Let's have a look here. So,
yeah.
This long live the Intifada.
Yeah.
Is this an example of the what did you say, national organic human rights movement that you mean? Is this a human rights movement?
I'm not sure that using the term intifada, which literally just means to like shake off or get rid of, is effective, as most Americans don't actually associate it with a human rights issue. So I don't think that's effective. No, Senator?
Wait a minute. You don't think it's effective, but you would agree that this is calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. This is after the
No, Senator.
No, it's not. This isn't calling for the killing of Jews.
I don't know that person, and I don't know that sign. So
you don't know what this means?
I don't think.
You haven't seen this before? Did you see these protests on Rabbi, do you know what this means?
Yes, it's a call for the destruction of the state of Israel and probably the killing of Jews everywhere.
I do not agree with that, Senator.
You don't think that's hate speech right here?
Long live the Intifada can mean different. As I see the problem,
it can mean
Senator,
different things. Wait a minute. These are protests, violent protests on campuses that targeted Jewish students, attacked them personally, prevented them from going to camp, going to class, put them in fear of their safety after the October 7th attacks on the state of Israel that murdered more Jews than at any time since the Holocaust. And you're saying you think that this is an ambiguous message?
I'm saying that any student targeted on campus, a Jewish student.
Will you condemn this right here? Right here. Long live the Intifada. Will you condemn that?
Condemning Jewish students on a campus is being targeted, and the Office of Civil Rights should successfully be given funding.
Will you condemn this as hate speech?
I think that can be hate speech, but I don't think it's automatically hate speech. The problem is that there's nuance I'm trying to introduce to this conversation.
What's the nuance when these people are marching and calling for Jews to be killed?
Sir, because long intifada also means uprising for Palestinians. The way you get rid
so it's ambiguous, so it's hard to say. Well, my gosh. Okay, let's try another one. What about this?
Please, audience will please.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's fine. We know what you think. Right, exactly. I mean, I think you've made it clear. Those who were cheering earlier when Senator Cruz was asking about the attempts to destroy and kill Jews. Let's just be clear about what's going on here, because here's what's happening at this hearing. We can't talk about anti-Semitism without also talking about something else. The message that's being sent today at this hearing today is anti-Semitism isn't enough. The attempts to kill Jews on campuses, that's not a conversation worthy of discussion. You've got to add something else to it. So if you want to kill Jews, we can't talk about that unless we also talk about 15 other things. And now we have a witness sitting here who will not condemn the attempts on these campuses that are blatantly anti-Semitic tropes, Nazi tropes to try and kill Jews. What about this one? There's only one solution. Is that a national organic human rights movement?
No, sir. I trust that's in reference to Holocaust, and that's
I would think the final solution. Okay, what about this? What about this? Glory to our martyrs.
Again, I don't understand the point of messaging like that. I don't know what that means.
Would you condemn this as anti-Semitic? This was projected here in Washington, D.C. on the campus in front of Jewish students following the October 7th massacre.
I think that is not appropriate speech at a time.
It's hate speech in the context, don't you think?
Sure, but the point is I would prefer to focus on the issue of hate crime. That's the reason I'm saying
this is a hate crime. When you threaten to kill Jews and destroy the state of Israel, that's hate speech.
No,
that's a hate crime.
Threatening to kill anyone, including Jews, is
let's not pretend that it's ambivalent or ambiguous or we're not sure. How about this one? Free Palestine from the river to the sea.
That's not hate speech, sir.
You don't think that this is a call for the destruction of the state of Israel?
Again, I can speak to what I think, which is amazing because I'd love to talk about what I think, but I really think the focus of our hearing
You don't
should
think
be
that
the
after
growing
the
problem
October
of hate
7th
crime.
attacks, when this was projected in front of a group of Jewish students right here in the District of Columbia, you don't think that's an attempt to intimidate them and call for the destruction of the state of Israel?
Focusing on hate crime, I would say if
Just
that
yes or
were
no?
displayed on a synagogue, then it's a hate crime. If it was displayed on a Hillel, then it's a hate crime. If it's displayed elsewhere, I trust its speech.
Well, and then we wonder why our students are confused. Rabbi, let me just ask you, are you confused about this message?
I'm not confused, and I'll add that even if it was ambiguous and could mean different things to different people, Senator, can you imagine if there was a phrase that also meant kill all the black people? Would we be okay with projecting it because it might also mean something else to someone else?
No, I mean, well said, well said. I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman, but let me just ask, since the witness talked about a national human rights movement, let me just ask about a couple others. University of North Carolina chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine claimed, it is our moral obligation to be in solidarity with the dispossessed, no matter the pathway to liberation they choose to take. This includes violence. Would you condemn that?
I'm sorry, was that for me?
Yes. It is our moral obligation to be in solidarity with the dispossessed, no matter the pathway to liberation they choose to take. This includes violence. You condemn that?
I certainly condemn violence.
Good. You condemn that statement?
I condemn violence. I have no interest in engaging in this back and forth about individual statements of students.
You know what? I do have an interest in it, and here's why. What I just read to you, the United States Senate unanimously condemned this rhetoric. And unless we take a stand now on this rhetoric, on this specific rhetoric out of the mouths of these students that you have called National Organic Human Rights Movement protesters, we are going to send the message that trying to kill Jews on campus, trying to prevent Jews from going to class on campus is just okay. It's just another viewpoint.
Senator,
it's
your
not
time
just
is
another viewpoint. And
Never
frankly,
okay.
what you're trying to do here
Senator,
today, I
your
think
time
is
has
wrong.
expired.
Deeply wrong, sir.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rabbi, do you believe there are a substantial number of people at Harvard University who believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, and the right to harass Jews?
I do.
That's a yes.
Yes.
And do you believe those people have acted on their self-anointed right to harass Jews?
Yes.
And has the administration at Harvard University allowed that to happen?
Yes.
Is that true at University of California at Berkeley?
Yes.
How about UCLA?
Yes.
How about NYU?
Yes.
A lot of other universities too. Isn't that the case?
That is correct.
Now, Title VI says that if you receive federal money, you can't harass Jews. Isn't that true?
That is correct.
Has the Biden-Harris administration taken away the money of Harvard?
No.
How about Berkeley?
Nope.
How about UCLA?
No, sir.
How about NYU?
No.
They've just talked, haven't they?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you think this condoned behavior at these universities, this condoned belief at these universities, and let me state it again, they believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, and the right to harass Jews. It's what they believe. What you do is what you believe. Everything else is just cottage cheese. Do you think that is consistent with their mission as universities?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So above and beyond the question of money, it is the morality, the purpose of higher education in America, is it not?
That is correct.
Ms. Barrett, you are the executive director of the Arab American Institute. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And according to your website, you're also, I'm going to quote here, a longtime Democratic Party activist who served as a member of the 2016 Democratic National Convention's Platform Standing Committee, close quote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You support Hamas, do you not?
Senator, oddly enough, I'm going to say thank you for that question because it demonstrates the purpose of our hearing today in a very
Let's start first
way.
with a yes or no.
Hamas is a foreign terrorist organization that I do not support, but you asking the executive director of the Arab American Institute that question very much puts the focus on the issue of hate in our country.
Well, I got your answer, and I appreciate it. What is the, you support Hezbollah too, don't you?
Again, I find this line of questioning extraordinarily disappointing,
Is that a
Senator.
no?
That
Or
you
a
have
yes?
you have Arab American constituents that you represent
is
in
that
your great state.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but my time's limited, and I apologize, but is that a yes or a no?
Yes or no question to do I support Hezbollah? The answer is I don't support violence, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or any other entity that invokes it.
You can't
So
bring
no,
yourself to say no, can you?
No, I can say no. I can say yes.
But
What
you
I can
haven't.
say is
You just
your
can't
line
make
of
yourself
questioning.
do it. Do you
Senator.
support or oppose Iran and their hatred of Jews?
Again, I'm going to emphasize Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, none of them is going to, this
you
discussion.
can't bring yourself to say no, can
Sir,
you?
I don't support.
It's real simple.
Excuse me. I'm going to,
Ian,
if I may, as a Muslim woman, sir, I'm going to tell you I do not support Iran. But what I will tell you is that this conversation.
I'm running out of time. I'm
Okay.
sorry. You called our decision to cut funding. You called our decision to cut fund. Well, first, what's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency?
It's UNRWA, which is the institution that exists to provide services and aid to the nearly 6 million Palestinian refugees.
And you called our decision to cut funding for them, quote, an incredible moral failure, close quote.
That is absolutely correct. But again, I would suggest that conversation is about foreign policy.
We did that because 9 UNRWA staff members were fired for actually helping Hamas on October 7th. Isn't that the case?
I don't believe that that's correct in terms
Let
of...
me ask you one more time. You support Hamas, don't you? You
Sir.
support UNRWA and Hamas, don't you?
Sir,
Please.
I think it's exceptionally disappointing that you're looking at an Arab American witness before you and saying you support Hamas.
You know what's disappointing to me?
I do not support
you can't
Hamas.
Bring yourself
I do
to
not
say
support Hamas
You don't
or
support UNRWA. You don't support Hamas. You don't.
I was very
support
clear in my support for UNRWA.
Hezbollah, and you don't
I
support
oppose-
Iran. You should hide your head in a bag.
Anti-Semitism is a unique historic form of evil. And over millennia, it has manifested in violence, mass murder, and genocide. October 7th was one of the darkest days in human history when terrorists murdered over 1,200 Israelis and took 251 hostages. Women and girls were raped. It was the single largest mass murder of Jews in a day since the Holocaust. In the wake of October 7th, we have seen anti-Semitism explode across the United States and across the world, but especially on college campuses. As the ADL has illustrated, from 2022 to 2023, the number of anti-Semitic incidents more than doubled in the United States. But college campuses in particular have become vile incubators of hatred of Jews. At Cornell University, in the aftermath of October 7th, one student made vile threats, including statements such as, "If I see a pygmalion Jew, I will stab you and slit your throat. If I see another female Jew, I will drag you away and rape you and throw you off a cliff." A student organization at California State University, Long Beach, circulated a flyer calling for a, quote, day of resistance in celebration of October 7th. You will note on the flyer is an image of a person parachuting with a fan attached. a direct reference to and a glorification of Hamas terrorists that used gliders to descend upon a music festival and murder 260 innocent people and take many more hostages. At Columbia University, the situation got so bad that the Orthodox rabbi on campus, Rabbi L.A. Buechler, had to make this public statement. Columbia University's public safety cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety in the face of extreme anti-Semitism and anarchy. It deeply pains me to say that I would strongly recommend you return home. This was directed to Jewish students as soon as possible and remain home. The rabbi had every reason to be concerned. At Columbia's campus, individuals yelled, "We love Hamas. We're all Hamas. Long live Hamas." At the University of Washington, the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors was told that she was called names, she was spit at, she was laughed at. She said she no longer felt safe on campus, and she was told to go back to the gas chambers. This is sick and horrific. At Columbia, when Jewish students were engaged in displaying the American flag and the Israeli flag, another student wearing a mask because these protesters are oh so brave, they almost always cover their face, held up a handwritten sign saying Al-Qassam's next target. Al-Qassam is the military arm of Hamas. According to social media, this particular student is a wealthy student from Georgia. She's not Palestinian, but she has been taught lies and hatred, and she feels perfectly comfortable advocating the murder of her fellow students at Columbia. At MIT, students have reported they feel unsafe to go to class. And the MIT president has said that she would not discipline the students making those threats because if she did, they risk losing their visas and being deported. Throughout all of this, the Biden-Harris administration has been utterly absent. Does anyone doubt if the Klan were on college campuses terrorizing African-American students, threatening African-American students, that we would see the FBI there, that we would see prosecutors there, that we would see federal funding cut off to universities? Of course we would, and we should. But when it comes to anti-Semitism, the Democrats have a problem. I would note, this is occurring in blue states with blue governors because the Democrat Party is terrified of the pro-Hamas wing of their party. In states like Texas and Florida, we don't allow this. At the University of Texas, when violent protesters threatened Jewish students, police officers arrived and arrested them. That's what happened when you enforce the law. Every Republican member of this committee asked the chairman to hold a hearing on anti-Semitism in February. And yet we don't get a hearing on anti-Semitism. We get a hearing generically on hate because this administration, and this is the kind of anger and hate that is encouraged. You're now seeing the hate manifesting right here. Interestingly enough,
Please, the committee will come to order. The senator is recognized to finish his remarks.
So we now have a demonstration of anti-Semitism. We have a demonstration of the hate. Rabbi Goldfelder, let me ask you, has the Biden administration cut off the funding of any of the colleges that have allowed this hate? Have they indicted anyone for funding these violent protests? Have they indicted the people paying for the matching tents? Or have they sat there silently, and have the universities sat there silently while their students are terrified to go to class?
They have not indicted anyone.
They have not indicted anyone. Has any university had their funding cut off for allowing this sort of violent intimidation?
Not a single university.
I can tell you this, next year,
Senator's
if there is
time
a
has
Republican
expired.
majority on this committee, you will see real leadership. And next year, if there's a Republican administration, you will see people prosecuted for this sort of violence. This is being tolerated with the looking away, the blind eye being turned from this administration and this Department of Justice. And it is utterly disgraceful. And under Title VI, any university that allows this should have their funding cut off.